Hello everyone and welcome back to Keep It English. Do you get confused between the verbs to go back and to come back? What about to go out and to come out? Or even to go in and to come in? Well, don't worry, you're not alone. Students often find movement verbs confusing. For this reason, today we're going to show you how to use movement verbs in English. So let's get started. First, let's start this lesson with been from the verb to be and gone from the verb to go. This is John and this is his wife Sarah. They live together in this house. One day you go to their house and ask John, "Where is Sarah?" John says that Sarah has gone to the shops. Has gone. Why do we use has gone? Well, the reason is that Sarah has left John to go to another place and has not yet returned, and so she has gone somewhere. Next, you ask John where he has been today. He replies, "I have been to the shops." John uses has been because he left where you both currently are to go to another location, but he has returned. John always speaks from your perspective. And from your perspective, John has left and returned to the location where you are, and Sarah has only left. Now let's go on to another confusing language point: to go back and to come back. This is Steve and this is Steve's boss. After spending a day at the office, Steve says to his boss, "I am going back home." Steve then calls his family back at his house to say, "I am coming back home." For one person, he uses to go back, and for another, to come back. So what's going on? Well, to go back means to leave, and to come back means to return. From Steve's boss's perspective, Steve is leaving, and so he says he is going back home. From Steve's family's point of view, he is returning, and so he says he is coming back home. Steve changes the verb depending on the perspective of the person he is talking to. Steve then says to his boss, "I am coming back in the morning." Why does he do that? Well, from Steve's boss's point of view, Steve is returning to her in the morning, and so he is coming back to the office. From Steve's family's perspective, he is leaving again in the morning, and so he is going back in the morning. To come back, to return, to go back, to leave. Now let's look at two other phrasal verbs: to go in and to come in. This is Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is a maths teacher. Here are two of Mr. Smith's students, Stuart and Laura. They are late for class. Stuart knocks on the classroom door. Mr. Smith says, "Come in." Stuart then says to Laura, "I am going in." Why does Mr. Smith say "come in" and then Stuart say to Laura, "go in"? Well, to come in means that someone is already in a closed space, like a room, and observes you enter from the outside. From Mr. Smith's point of view, Stuart is entering his space. To go in means to be on the outside of a closed space, and then to enter. From Laura's perspective, Stuart is leaving her on the outside to go in. Both Stuart and Mr. Smith speak from the point of view of the person they are talking to. To come in and to go in. Now let's look at to go out and to come out. Mr. Smith is still teaching his lesson. A difficult student, Lucy, starts talking on her mobile phone. This is against the school rules, and so Mr. Smith says to Lucy, "Go out." Lucy sends a message to Laura on the outside of the classroom to say, "I am coming out." Mr. Smith says, "Go out," and Lucy says, "Come out." So what's going on? Well, again, it all depends on the perspective of the person you are talking to. Mr. Smith and Lucy are in the same closed space, and so from Lucy's perspective, she is leaving to go to the outside. Laura is on the outside, and so from her perspective, Lucy is exiting the closed space to come to her on the outside. For the person on the inside, it's to go out. For the person on the outside, it's to come out. Finally, we have to give back, to put back, and to take back. This is Rachel and this is Sam. They are two students in a lesson. Sam says to Rachel, "Can I borrow your pencil?" And Rachel gives him her pencil. Later in the lesson, Rachel needs her pencil, and so she says, "Give me back my pencil." Please note that it is not a very polite way to speak, but it's okay because Rachel and Sam are very good friends. So what does to give back mean? Well, it means to return something that was originally given. Now, to put back. This is a shelf, and this is a pile of books. Usually the books live on the shelf, but the students took them off to read. At the end of the day, the teacher says, "Put the books back on the shelf." What does this mean? Right, to return something that was originally put. You put a book on a shelf, and so to return it to its place, you put it back. Finally, we have to take back. Rachel buys some boots on the sale, but she decides she doesn't like them and says to herself, "I'll take the boots back." What does to take back mean? That's right, to return something that was taken. This is most commonly used for returning items to shops. Do you ever take things back to shops if you don't like them? And so, that concludes our lesson on movement phrasal verbs. To recap on any of the information, check out our lesson notes below, or test your knowledge with our quiz. Come back next time and I'll teach you some more. Happy learning!